and welcome to Ozark Garden Talk with White River Nursery. I am your host, Sarah McCue. I'm the owner of White River Nursery here in Fayetteville, Arkansas, and this is our first podcast recording where
Yay!
We talk about, all things plants and the joys and the challenges that we face here gardening in the Ozarks. And we are recording today from our lovely library here in Fayetteville, and I'm with my co-hosts Charity Cox and Alex Royce.
Yes, and we are excited to do this podcast because we have people come into our nursery all the time with questions and their own experiences to share with us, and we answer a lot of the same questions or talk about a lot of the same things. We like to pick plants and talk about plants that are going to fit well in our local ecosystems and help choose the right plants for the right place, among other things. I did not say who it was. Oh. I do event coordination at the nursery, and I am the plant buyer. So I get to see all the cool new things coming in, which we get to talk about today.
I'm Alex. I'm the general manager at the nursery. We have these talks all the time, and we just wanted to kind of loop you guys in and let you get an inside view of how we feel about some of this stuff.
Exactly, Alex. So today we've each selected a few plants that we are just excited to either see in this year at the nursery, see how they perform, or we're just really looking to add them to our own personal gardens. I've got a few, and right now it's currently freezing outside. We're still in the midst of winter, and we are eager to talk about anything green like many of you at home are. So who's ready to get started, and who wants to talk about their first plant?
I can go first.
Okay.
Except my notes are underneath your notes.
Okay.
Okay. So a new plant to us, and actually a fairly new plant coming onto the market from all that I can tell, is a new release by Proven Winners. It is called El Nino Desert Orchid Catalpa. So it doesn't sound like anything that would be appropriate for Northwest Arkansas, desert and orchid, but it is actually a plant developed. The Catalpa plant is from a intergeneric hybridization of a Chalopsis linearis, I only sort of speak Latin, and a catalpa tree. So the Chalopsis is actually a U.S. native, but of course not in our area because that's where the desert part comes from. It's a desert willow is a common name for that plant. And it is very popular in a bit of the warmer areas. New Mexico, it grows really well too. And then the catalpa, we're probably all familiar with, but if not, it's one of our native trees and does well here, grows really large, and it's actually much more water thirsty than the desert willow would be. So the combination of this plant and Catalpa is actually a plant that has existed. The El Nino Desert Orchid from Proven Winners is like a new color, but they do exist. So they are growing around the U.S. now. It sounds to me like this development also gives a little more cold hardiness to it. So it is a zone 6 to 9 plant. The orchid in the name comes from the actual flowers. They do look somewhat like an orchid. They're tubular, and this color in this one is a really solid bright purple, and the flower stems grow on top of the branches, so that's very, very bright, big, and it's fragrant. So it has a lot of visual interest. Because it's fragrant, it's actually, they say it's fragrant enough to smell from far away because the flowers are big enough to release that. It is a tree multi-stem shrub. If you wanted to train it into a tree, you'd have to keep on the pruning, it sounds like, because it's going to try to be multi-stem. It gets 10 to 15 foot tall and about 8 to 10 wide. So it's a small shrubby tree that could be a nice privacy screen. It is deciduous, and I did see some notes about it dropping leaves with heat stress, which we will have, but it's also very tolerant to flood and dry. So it's very drought tolerant. the desert willow would naturally occur in ravines for the flooding, like in New Mexico. You think about the big floods and then all the water's gone. So that's kind of its habitat. And with the combination of the catalpa with the cold tolerance, and they said a mildew resistance was also part of that mix. I think it could add a really different looking plant for our area.
Yeah.
And, since it's so new, it would be fun to experiment with and find the right location. With it being a zone 6, which we're supposed to be 7 now, but we do need to prepare for that 6. I think giving it some protection, we're siting it well, and know that it may lose its leaves, but it also is visited by lots of bumblebees or native bees, and I believe, no, it's one of my other plants that hummingbirds like, so I don't know. But the fragrance, the big bloom, showiness, and just a new plant to try.
Yeah, sounds interesting.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Oh, that was El Nino Desert Orchid.
Very cool. Well, do you have one, Alex?
Sure. One of the plants I picked out that is new to us this year, I don't know how new the variety actually is. I believe it's also a proven winner. They came out with over 100 new plant varieties for 2025.
Wow. They're
so
busy.
they've got a lot going on. But one of them, they have a Sky Dew Gold Blueberry, which, I love the idea of combining the ornamental with the edible.
Yeah.
Whether that's incorporating some flowers into your vegetable garden, or vice versa. This guy kind of does double duty in that respect. So you get a relatively compact blueberry. It is a high bush type, and some of the high bush get really large. So this guy stays smaller, 2 to 3 feet tall, 3 to 4 feet wide.
That is small for high bush.
Yeah, and it still produces what they say is high quality fruit, and you get this bright gold foliage.
Oh,
Nice.
The foliage is gold.
That's right. The blueberries are blue. And it's just a standard blueberry.
Oh.
But then they say kind of in late summer going into fall, you also get some reds and oranges. And so.
And reds is the normal blueberry color.
That's right.
So that gold.
Their fall color.
Yeah, they have really good fall color anyway. And blueberries can be a little tricky. The soil pH has to be right. Yeah. They like it acidic. But other than that, they don't require a lot of nutrition, fertilization. Should kind of do its own thing. I should mention, like other blueberries, if you want fruit, you have to get another blueberry bush of a different type. So,
which we'll have.
Oh yes,
yeah, nice.
It specifically mentioned Blu-ray and blue crop.
Oh, perfect.
As pollination
that's very
partners.
common, and a lot of people have them.
We pretty much always have those in stock. So
Nice.
I don't think that should be too much of an issue. But yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I'm probably gonna buy one of these.
Yeah.
So.
Nice. Well, my first plant that I was going to talk about kind of has a similar look to the one you have. It's the Golden Anniversary Baptisia or False Indigo, which this variety has the bright yellow foliage and still the traditional blue blooms of the Baptisia. So you have a very similar look. I love the contrast. I think it's something that looks pretty, and it's that contrast with the other green things in your garden, even when it's not in bloom or in berry or something.
So
it's
the
just
foliage is the yellow.
Yes, the foliage is the yellow. Yeah.
I was thinking about like the American goldfinch, the yellow bloom.
Yes, it's and it has just the green foliage. But anyway, bright golden foliage, which the Baptisia foliage is always, it's just interesting looking anyway. It's really delicate and pretty. Structural. So this will get about 30 to 36 inches, just kind of a standard Baptisia, but full sun. Tolerates a little bit of light shade, but it's going to want sun, just like the other Baptisias. Blooms midsummer, great pollinator plant, average soil, pretty drought tolerant, pretty tolerant to most reliable conditions. Yeah, easy to grow. I've had a good, easy growing with the ones I have in my garden, native, so that's always great. So I'm really excited to see the golden coloration of this one.
It'll change up the Baptisia scene.
Yeah,
You're a collector, which I have a few.
They do exist, yes.
They're a pretty one, but that's the one I had.
Yeah, and just so hardy. I mean, plant it and forget it.
Yes,
it's good for that.
I like those. I love the Baptisias.
Let's see. Okay, so my second plant also is another Proven Winners introduction. And it's an evergreen, which is always tricky in our part of the world. Yeah. This is Juniperus virginiana. So it is eastern red cedar. That's the same plant, but this is called Aquavita, and they have found this one or developed it. It is like supposed to be neon blue. I mean, like just really, really aqua blue. So I'm a big fan of blue colors, blue evergreens.
Adds that extra contrast. It's so nice.
I mean, who doesn't like a Colorado blue spruce? We're not in Colorado. It's a little challenging to get that color here. This is related to our eastern red cedar, basically is the same plant with this color variation.
We all know they're tough.
Right.
Yeah.
Tough.
Grow
They handle
anywhere.
our drought. They handle, some flooding and various
soil.
soils. Yeah, they don't really care about their soil. They're not picky. As far as I can see, it's saying 12 to 15 feet tall and 3 to 4
Nice
wide.
size.
So I don't know if that's that 10-year mark, which is often put out there. So I would say, because this is new, it's possible it could get bigger eventually. They're not going to be super fast growers though, but a 15-foot by 4 or 5 foot tree is wonderful for a yard, and it could be a great accent piece, or even, a whole hedgerow of like glowing aqua blue.
Oh, that'd be really pretty.
Yeah.
Or just incorporate it in with some others.
Right.
Yeah, just to add that interest.
So again, not picky about soil, a nice size to put into a yard, evergreen. So a lot of those things that we really do look for in a landscape to kind of create a statement and or hold the landscape through the seasons. The only other thing I would say about this, it is newer on the market. So when we get it this year, it's going to be a little baby. They're not going to be big yet. They're not being rolled out in production as much and being grown because it is new. So we'll be starting with some cute little evergreens, which I like to just like pop in a pot and let it keep growing as an ornamental pot that I could even move to different locations in the yard or to the porch at certain times of year, and then plant it out in the ground. So
once it won't get lost in the
or
lake.
weed whacked or
yeah.
something. Yeah. So that's my
We've
favorite
all
plant.
had that problem.
Yeah.
That sounds really cool. It actually sounds like it could almost be a tougher, more interesting alternative to an emerald green. Because, I mean, it's pretty narrow and
We can all
upright.
hope
Yes.
Yeah.
that we have a better option
For
eventually.
our area.
Wow,
Yeah.
That's really
Yeah.
cool. My second plant is the Bristol Black Raspberry. Like the blueberries,
Food
it's
again.
food again, but you will sense a theme. It is also, like the blueberries, native to North America. Not so much in Northwest Arkansas, I don't think, but
I don't think so.
the black raspberries, I haven't seen one.
I mean, they'll
I'm
grow
just
here
saying.
though. They will grow here.
They do well here.
Yeah.
In my experience, the black raspberries tend to do a little better with our
Yes.
heat, So this one's kind of interesting just because it has pretty strongly upright canes. You don't have quite as much flopping,
Oh.
and it's
that's
relatively small. And I mean, I say that, but it's going to sucker. It's going to try
It's a
to
raspberry.
spread. That's right. It's
Yeah.
going to try to create a thicket. So after a couple of years, you're probably going to have to deal with that a little bit. But it's supposed to have fantastic flavor. Yeah, 4 to 5 foot tall and wide. And we all know, I mean, generally the berries are very adaptable to different soil conditions. I mean, they're pretty tough. They do pretty well here. So
It sounds yummy.
good food for wildlife because, they always eat half of our berries before we
True.
get to
Yeah.
them. So.
Right.
But I'm okay with that personally.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not a problem.
Nice. Well, my next one I had was it's called Snowsicle Oakleaf Hydrangea.
Yes.
Hydrangea
You picked
quercifolium.
this one and I wanted to
Oh,
pick
did
it.
you? Charity and I have both, we both love hydrangeas, but the Hydrangea quercifolia, this is a double flowering Oakleaf hydrangea, which we have both discussed. We kind of have a love-hate challenge with them, but I will say the Gatsby Moon that we both have, that is a double flowering. The challenge we've had is that the blooms are so thick and dense, they get loaded down with water during the spring rains, and the branches are kind of delicate and they will break. So these did not look quite as densely bloomed
I
as
don't
the
think so.
Gatsby Moon. But even with the Gatsby Moon, mine's been in the ground, I think 5, maybe 6 years now. And I've noticed that that was kind of a challenge when it was younger. and now that it's gotten a few years on it, the limbs have sturdied up, and I last year I did not see any breakage.
I had a lot last year.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay. So it could be a challenge with these. So, and also these blooms are 12 to 14 inches long.
Yes.
So that is a huge bloom.
From what I've seen in pictures, it does droop. So like that's the sickle part, I think.
Yes, they did kind of that's what I.
But it almost is a weeping in the bloom form, and
it might shed water better, because the Gatsby moon is upright, and it does seem to it's just like a sponge. It holds the water.
It's a big, white, fluffy.
They are so
huge.
thick.
Those are almost like triple bloom.
I feel like there's more
gorgeous.
true flowers in there on the snow sickle too for the pollinators.
Yeah, that's
I think
true.
there's a little. It is double flowering, but it doesn't look so tight. So I think that's a bonus. And the reason we're getting these is because one of our landscape customers has a client that has them in their yard. She ID'd it and said, if you ever find this, please bring it in.
Okay.
So there we go.
Oh, good. Well, I saw them and I was like, I want that in my yard too, because I do love the Gatsby moon. It's just they're gorgeous plants. Any of the Oakleaf hydrangeas, even the traditional old fashioned, are just so
easy.
They are so easy. And and mine, I don't water it. Don't supplemental water during the summer. They're tough. They're tolerant of all kinds of conditions. They do need shade, at least in the afternoon. But they have gorgeous fall color. I mean, they're just, and then even in the winter, the branching has kind of that flaky bark, peely bark. That's just interesting, and they're just structural. I really love the Oakleaf hydrangeas. They're one of my favorites.
I'm excited to get that one in for sure.
It'll be fun to see it bloom.
That's another reason we're making this, is it's fun to share what our customers bring to us. There's millions of hydrangeas out in the world. There's no way we can have all of them, even though we've tried. And that was brought to my attention because that is so cool.
Yeah. No, I really like that one.
All right. Are we already to the third plant?
I think we've got the third one already, yeah.
This is fun. Okay. So I kind of saved my best for last because it's a perennial, and y'all know that I love the perennials. So herbaceous perennials are my favorite, actually. We all need the trees and we need the woody shrubs to create structure in our gardens, but perennials give you so much in the landscape that you can change kind of and add to. This one is something that popped up in my yard last year. I had never seen it there. So lyre leaf sage, Salvia liatra, and it's a wildflower. We always have a lot of rain. I don't know what activated the seed bank or whatever, but I had it popping up. It is a woodland edge native, so it does like part shade and it likes the moisture. So I'm thinking that we just had that perfect balance to wake up the seeds, because I'd never noticed it before. It was in a back corner of my yard that I hadn't probably visited at the right time. Maybe that's what it was. But the one that we're getting in is purple knockout lyre leaf sage. So there's a few reasons I'm excited about it. First of all, it just showed up in my yard all by itself, and I was like, this is a cool sweet plant. It's like 18 inches max, so it's very low. It has basal leaves that really cover the ground, and then the stem just comes up with little tubular flowers that are great for bees, butterflies, and hummingbirds. So this is the hummingbird plant. It can be like a pale purple white to a dark purple, and it kind of varies per plant. It's not necessarily on this one. The purple knockout actually comes from the leaves. So the basal leaves are burgundy, and in the winter they turn red. It self-seeds. It can self-sow. Just by observation, to me, it looks like it's not too hard to pull out if you didn't want it. But get this. I'm so excited. It is a native ground cover to ajuga. It's the answer to ajuga.
Oh,
so
that's something that we've really never had as a native ground cover alternative.
Purple leaf ajugas we just love, and who doesn't like that for that ground cover color? This purple knockout could replace that purple leaf ajuga by self-seeding. Now, if you didn't want it to, it says just clip off the flowers. Which everything says that, and I never get to that. So just be happy that it's spreading is how I look at that.
Yeah, less weeds,
Right.
less Bermuda,
and
maybe.
so it does say sun to part shade. Where I saw it occurring in my yard was in the shade, like dappled shade, not a ton of hot sun. And I actually noticed it several places last year around. So it was just like a perfect conditions.
And I'm assuming since it's a sage, probably the deer won't touch it.
Right. It's not browsed. It's small and it's
Probably
like
drought tolerant.
it says it likes to have some moisture. I mean, but Ajuga's description says that too. And let me say, I don't water it and that stuff. It can wilt flat and it'll just come right back.
Yeah.
So this is very similar to that. We're getting this from North Creek Nurseries, and they had mentioned that sometimes the blooms will not form a flower, but you still have is it calyx? Is that how you say it? You still have that opening, and even it'll still form seeds even without the petals. So like you might not see the petals. It may just be this dried stem almost look. And if that happens, you can deadhead it basically, and it'll rebloom and create flowers with petals. They don't know why it's doing this, but
that's cool.
Yeah, but I was pretty excited about the idea of a burgundy ground cover native plant.
Yeah, we've talked about this, just having that contrast in burgundy is one that we don't see as much in natives.
Ground covered natives is always a thing that we're trying to figure out. So I was excited about that one.
That is exciting.
All right, my third plant, it is the third North American native, and yes, the third edible berry producing plant. So all my plants have to do double duty. They have to do.
They got to earn their keep.
Ideally, they're going to feed me, so, and as well as the birds and everything. So the Spring Glory Serviceberry looks like possibly a newer type, and in any case, it's got some attributes that make it a lot more usable for a lot of people in the city. It's a smaller one. So as a lot of y'all know, the serviceberries can get quite big and they can get kind of unruly. This one is basically a small tree or a large suckering shrub. If you don't keep the suckers cut back at the base, it is going to continue to spread out and form just kind of a thicket. So keep that in mind. But this guy only gets 12 foot tall, 6 to 8 feet wide. Okay. And like the rest of the serviceberries, it is gorgeous in the spring. I mean, they just get absolutely covered in these white blooms, stunningly beautiful. And, when I'm saying a multi-stemmed shrub, they're a multi-stemmed upright shrub. You can think kind of like a crepe myrtle, basically. And similarly, again, it has to be pruned to maintain that shape. But so you get the really beautiful blooms. In summer, you get a bunch of fruit, and the fruit is actually really similar to a blueberry.
Yeah,
you guys have eaten them.
Love it.
And again, the birds are going to eat. And in my experience growing serviceberry, it was worse than just about anything else I grew as far as the birds getting it all.
I love it, yeah.
Yeah, you go out there, the berries aren't quite ready, you're waiting another day, you come back out, they're all gone. There's none left. So, but they're pretty good. And then, like the other serviceberries, really good fall color.
Yeah.
So you get that red and orange, and I love serviceberry. I want more people to plant them. I want to see more out and about, and so hopefully this smaller cultivar will make that a little more feasible for more people.
And even though it is suckering, it is easy enough to maintain. It's not going to be so far ahead of you that you can't fix it.
And it's not.
Yeah, this is a great alternative for the Bradford pear or any of those other,
And when I say sucker, I mean, there are some things, including some of the sweet spire, that they'll send a shoot up 4 feet away. Serviceberry don't do that as much. Right. It's basically from the center.
More of a clumping.
That's right. You're going to just get those sprouts. It's not going to run and just pop up everywhere.
Yeah. It's a beautiful tree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That size is perfect for a yard.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, that's the trend with so many of these things. They're going smaller. Not everybody has a huge yard anymore. Right. So, I think it's great. It makes it accessible for more people. So
that's a really good one. Well, mine is kind of a crazy, can get crazy big, but it's the Dress to Thrill Crossvine, proven winner again plant. Yeah. And this is one I'm hoping we get this in. I'm not 100% sure. We're afraid it might be delayed, but we haven't had this variety before, but it's the Bignonia capriolata, I think, as I'm saying it
Sounds
right. I think that's right.
Note that we are professionals and we still struggle with the Latin quite
Yeah.
a bit.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. There's if we don't say it all the time every day, it's hard. But anyway, it is a native vine, vigorous grower, fast growing. This one it could get up to 12 to 30 feet,
Yeah.
so pretty big vine. But we don't really have anything. There's not a whole lot of vines. We kind of struggle with coming up with vines that aren't just super delicate, like a clematis, or we don't want to recommend a wisteria, so if you're looking for a good coverage
The
vine,
native wisteria is okay, but it's big. You have to be
okay,
ready.
yeah, that's
So
true.
This could be big. I'm not sure, but
Yeah, it's gonna.
Not as heavy.
it's
and
not
woody,
as heavy
though.
as a wood. Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
gonna be like a big trunk.
Yeah.
No,
tree
and you
eventually.
can actually cut it back.
nice,
like
yeah.
24 inches. It blooms on new wood, so it's.
Okay.
I think what's special about the Proven Winter Dress to Thrill variety is that it's just a very prolific bloomer. It's got the orangey red tubular blooms that are, of course, hummingbirds are going
Yes.
to flock
Mhm.
to.
Yes.
They're going to love. It does need support, so it can be pretty densely branched. I don't
Yeah.
think it's very woody, but it's pretty densely branched, so it would be a nice privacy screen. Full sun to bloom, that profusely, but it will grow back. It does bloom on new wood, full sun, can tolerate a lot of different soil types, so it's
They're
very it's
Mhm.
it can it's very drought tolerant, that kind of thing. So
This is definitely one that could be thrown into that privacy screen request that we get
Yeah.
so often. A lot of times people are, looking for that privacy screen to block a neighbor's yard or the pool or something. And, I try to recommend vines as an option because we don't live in a place that has evergreens, natively occurring, not many selections to choose from. And so this is an alternative to a big tree. You can get it up onto something,
and control it a little bit more.
Yes, and actually, it's been planted by quite a few landscapers in our area that not Dress to Thrill. This is a brand new one,
right?
But the Crossvine as a good screen, because even when when it loses its leaves, it's enough of a structure there to block your view, to distract from seeing straight through. So
That's right.
Nice.
it's great for that.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I don't think it has many problems.
No.
I think it's easy. Not many pests like it. Not deer resistant, that kind of thing, which
And
is
it's
always
very
nice.
showy. Like
Yeah.
those flowers are very showy, even of the straight native.
I've
So I
always
can't
loved them,
imagine how crazy that one could be in their development, because they always have the big flowers and stuff.
Yeah.
You better get it in.
Yeah.
Give them a call.
It's supposed to come. We'll see if I think probably it's a production issue because it's a new plant. So we run into that a lot. If it's not quite being grown to demand because
Right.
people have heard about it, it may take us another year to start getting a bunch in or able to get a bigger.
We will eventually get
Yeah.
them in.
Yeah.
It'll be on the order on
Yes.
repeat. We'll
Yes.
we'll request it for next year if we don't
Right.
end up getting it in this year.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Anyway, well that kind
a
of
lot
is
of
all I
fun
have.
plants.
Yeah, I know. I'm excited
And there
for
were a lot
spring.
more.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh
oh
yeah.
gosh.
That was just the ones we decided to pick out. So.
Yeah, this was
Part of our big list.
Our list. So, but anyway, well, I'm excited
This
about our
was
new
fun.
podcast,
Yeah.
and hopefully we'll do this at least like once a month,
Yeah.
and we'll come up with a variety of topics to talk about. But we always like to talk about the plants that we're excited to get in and see, and what we're seeing and how things are doing, and talking about.
There's
all the
always
things.
plants to talk about with us.
I
So
This is true.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
yeah, thanks for joining us.